How are you? How's everyone doing? Let's get started with the news. Let's get into the details. What's happening in the world? How the World Cup went? The beginning. We're going to talk about that, and we're also going to talk about, well, a conflict that seemed like it was going to calm down. But now Iran is reacting, and they're saying what Trump is saying. Those negotiations that were supposedly going to be signed, well, they don't exist, isn't that right? Here's what the Iranians claim. We'll discuss details soon, but clearly something unusual is happening. Also, what's happening with the additional information that's been picked up so far from 3. An Atlas information that could be a sign that the, well, comet might have life. 3 and Atlas. In the end, there is a lot of information about 3 and Atlas that hasn't been revealed yet. And well, little by little, we'll find out what's going on. Around Iran, there is already talk of attacks. There is talk of movements. So it seems that the final decision that was mentioned about the agreement and the signing is still far from happening. Also, what's happening in Israel and the Wadi Saluki Valley, where there's an advance toward Lebanon. There are some very important details there, and there's also a revelation about a meteorological issue that we're going to talk about. Very interesting, especially considering what it has caused throughout history, and above all, what's coming with the famous Super El Nino. Let's get to the information, let's get into the details, let's start. Go ahead and give it a like, and well, let's begin. How have you been? How are you doing? Thank you so much to those who are already here live. Please go ahead and give it a like. Thank you so much for your comments. Also, let me know what you thought of the game. And in the end, well, it was very interesting. A lot of celebration. That's for sure, obviously. But also, well, with some very interesting details when it comes to fun facts. And we're going to talk about that right now, obviously about that topic. But let's start with the more serious part. Donald Trump assured today that a peace agreement was imminent. He was so convinced about the possibility of an agreement coming that in response to this, oil reacted very positively, with prices dropping impressively. If we look at oil right now, it's not at $91. It's almost about to drop below that. Let's say below the 90s, which would be really good news. I mean, in that sense. If an agreement is really going to happen, it's great that it does. That's excellent. The thing is, or the question is, whether it will really be an agreement or if he's just, let's say, exaggerating things and giving details that aren't really true, to say the least, right? Look, there's a meme. Sometimes memes are really accurate for understanding this situation. And it says, the baby says, first I'll read what it says and then I'll show the image because it's really funny. It says, Trump is attacking Iran. No, he's not attacking Iran. No, yes, he is attacking. No, he's not attacking. Every day it's one thing or another, or all of them. We seem crazy here, saying, at the same time they're reporting that they're attacking, at the same time they're reporting that they're negotiating. It's insane. And this summary, this meme sums it up perfectly. Let's put it up here on the screen. Let me make it smaller. Honestly, sorry for starting with a meme, but this time I think it's very fitting. Very, very fitting for what's happening. And honestly, with these memes, things become much clearer. Well, this is some news, right? Look, this is the meme. Here it goes. Let's listen to it. Yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. The markets go up. The markets go down. The markets go up. It's crazy. The truth is that it's really, really good. When you sent it to me, I thought this is great. We have to share it. Obviously, that's been happening since February 28th, if not even before. Like, yes, like, no, are we going to attack? Are we going to, strategic ambiguity taken to the extreme to madness, whether it's tomorrow or not. If that's really what Trump's inner reality is like, it must be very exhausting to be Trump. Really. Or it's a multi-layered strategy that analysts don't even know what to say about. We follow a lot of analysts to try to have much more interesting information for all of you. And it makes me laugh a lot because if you look at the analysts, it's like 3 days ago they were saying Trump and his strategy are working, right? And then 3 days later, Trump has lost, right? And then Iran is, well, achieving something, or every day there's information that if you read it from 3 weeks ago, it seems to contradict itself, because that's how it is. That's how this reality has been. It's been a really strange reality. Look, let's go through the timeline of how all this happened, because in the end, people are going to ask what the VP is talking about. Well, today was crazy. No, Trump said he canceled the planned attacks on Iran. I mean, there were planned attacks, and he announced a negotiation agreement supported by several countries. What happened?
Well, he announced this today, saying that this weekend was basically going to be the official signing. He mentioned Europe or France, that several countries were supporting him. He shared this through a message on social media and said, based on facts, that the discussions with the Islamic Republic of Iran have been taken to the highest level of Iranian leadership and approved. As President of the United States, I canceled the attacks. He actually issued a memorandum like that from the White House. Everything is super official because, well, supposedly there were going to be attacks, because we have to remember that he already said he was going to do it. And today I'm going to repeat it. It's going to be a mess. Iran, until they signed, he said it in his own words.
Today, it started out really aggressively. I mean, today, saying that they were going to take Cardenas Island car, that they were going to launching attacks, and I don't know what else. A few hours later, he was already mentioning a supposed agreement. He went from, we're going to crush and do this, to suddenly saying, well, we're already negotiating. The signing is coming. 2 or 3 more days, and the signing will happen. I mean, everything is calm, everything is fine. The markets were happy, and the price of oil started to go down, which, by the way, oil is already starting to bounce back. I mean, we saw just now that it's at around $91. If you notice, since all the Asian markets have already opened, they've started to react and bounce back. Let's see if this price is because this was, let's say, on the 11th, but over there in Asia, it's already the 12th. So it's already gone up. We're just about to get started. We'll see later. But anyway, that's what Donald Trump says. And in the meantime, the Iranians have responded. And on the same account, or accounts of this Ibrahim Soligari, no, the spokesperson, right? The spokesman or spokesperson of the Revolutionary Guard apparently revealed the following. There it is on his Twitter account. Well, basically saying that the Iranian Foreign Ministry rejects Donald Trump's claim that they had approved an agreement. He says no agreement has been reached. No one has accepted it. And well, what else does it say there?
Today, the spokesperson for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs spoke out as well. As mentioned, that's what the Revolutionary Guard claims, since there are 2 sides in Iran. Yes, on the part of the Revolutionary Guard, who are the ones who really have the power, he says that any agreement must satisfy all of Iran's demands, including full control of the Strait of Hormuz and $24 million in frozen funds and no nuclear concessions. And again, I mean, this is it.
I mean, that's the agreement.
It's a brick wall, a dead end, nothing.
So the agreement is absolutely nothing. And now let's move on to the next step, which is what you're talking about. There's supposedly a split within Iran that we already know very well. Which one would that be?
It would be the faction led by Mojtaba Khamenei, the new supreme leader, and the Revolutionary Guard Corps. And on the other side, the diplomats, not really diplomats, in quotes, because they're still very tough, like Sagarashi, who is the foreign minister and the president of the parliament. First, the Revolutionary Guard Corps shares this video. Then, a few minutes later, Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesperson Ismail Baghali reacts. He's the Iranian you're seeing on the screen. And he states that the talks are ongoing, but ruled out that a final conclusion has been reached. He explained that a large part of the negotiated document has already been drafted, although there are still differences that prevent them from taking the final step to close it.
So that needs to be emphasized. Let's see. So the person in charge, the foreign affairs spokesperson, is saying, yes, we're talking. I mean, there are talks, but no final decision has been made. So does that mean that Trump isn't saying things like that either? Just randomly? Because honestly, it might seem like he's just saying things at random. But with this gentleman's confirmation, what he's saying is, well, yes, negotiations are happening. Yes, they're talking. But the final decision hasn't been made yet. That's what a different group says, I insist. And as Astrid rightly says, they're divided in Iran. But then Mojtaba comes out and says, no, we don't agree with that document. And that's it. The matter is over. So there are 2 responses from Iran. I mean, to make all of this even more bizarre And to give even more relevance to this meme we showed you at the beginning, well, this is the craziness. The indecision apparently isn't just on, I mean, it's not just Trump, but also the Iranians. They've been experts at this, so to speak, of being in that back and forth of I've decided this or no, I haven't, even when it comes to making a decision. But I mean, at the same time, they're inconsistent in the sense that they say yes to the agreement, and at the same time, they say no to the agreement.
Exactly.
And who's the real authority? Who's the powerful one? In theory, it's Moshtaba, right? I mean, but at the same time, there are other powers that apparently do want to negotiate. Before we get into negotiating and all that, I want to tell everyone in the community to go ahead and like and share. Super important, because for us to be here every day, it's really necessary for you all to participate. So I really appreciate everyone who's subscribed, everyone who's commenting. How are you, Nina Rublox, Tapatia Plus, and the whole community? Well, what else was said about all this?
The spokesperson for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs made it very clear that up until now, they're not willing to abandon the issue of red lines. And it's a topic that, well, keeps coming up. There are three right now, basically. Money, nuclear issues, and the last one would be the Strait of Hormuz.
Today, the Secretary of the Treasury, Beset, said that the money the Americans have from Iran, in other words, it's money they have frozen, billions of dollars. They say that every time Iran attacks, they are going to take that money, the equivalent of the attack. So that's really tough. That would be a huge blow, because in the end, that money isn't theirs, right? And they'd be taking it by force. That's also a topic that would heat up the room. In the end, countries that want to do business with the United States, they're going to say, hey, you know that if you're the first one to get mad, you're going to take money that's not yours. After all the trouble they've gone through, for example, to take Russian money from that blocked money that Europe has. They still haven't made a final decision, always disagreeing on whether to say yes or no. They also posted on Twitter like a meme. Obviously, this image where they show it circulating, well, a little older now, let's say looking very tired, and they write, the Iranians are about to sign an agreement any moment now, as if everything is always in the future, saying that in the year 2039, like they're about to agree any moment now, right? Well, the thing is, it was flooded with memes, and even Donald Trump himself said the following. Let's see if you can hear this, if you can hear it. I'm going to turn it up as high as I can here, but the audio is very low. But that's the moment when he's talking about this. Listen to this very carefully.
But we'll have a signing soon, and the documents are in pretty final shape. So we'll see. We'll see. Very well.
If you can't hear it, it's super quiet. I don't know if you caught what you're listening to. Donald Trump says we'll have a signing soon, and the documents are in a pretty final form. It should be ready pretty quickly, says Donald Trump. I mean, he says it himself. And that's when it starts, oil starts to go down. Things start to calm down a bit. And well, look, if they're going to reach an agreement, but the letdown is when Mokhtaba says no. And here, well, there's also a report from an Israeli source in which it's also known that the Israelis didn't know about any kind of agreement. And that also draws a lot of attention.
Yes, they've already responded, and it's in this finding if you want.
All right. Well, let's go to that topic right away. Let's look at these reactions. Well, regarding the supposed negotiation that the United States is having with Iran, the United States says they're negotiating. Iran says no, or that nothing has been decided by them. Trump seemed to say yes, but at the same time, a report published in American media claims otherwise. Israeli sources told American media that Netanyahu was completely taken by surprise, that he was in a meeting, in a security meeting. So Netanyahu was in the middle of a meeting and they tell him, hey, Trump is already negotiating and all that. And he says, wow, nobody told me anything, right?
Exactly. In fact, today his reaction was the following. He states that Israel is not part of this agreement with Iran, but he thanks Trump for his commitment to thwarting the nuclear program. I mean, they don't consider themselves part of this agreement. They don't include themselves in it. And he says that although Israel is not part of the Memorandum of Understanding, which, by the way, this Memorandum of Understanding is supposed to be something they signed, but Iran says they haven't signed anything. That's another point, too, that we don't know if it's true or if it's a lie. And he thanked him, he says. The Prime Minister expressed his gratitude to President Trump for his commitment that the final agreement reached at the conclusion of the negotiations. It will include the elimination of enriched material, the dismantling of enrichment infrastructure, limitation of missile production, and the cessation of Iran's support for its affiliated terrorist groups in the region. So, in addition, they include all the points that, well, were promised to be fulfilled, but it seems like that's it. They're not so clear in this memorandum if it even exists. We don't know if it exists or not, but what is true is that today Trump says something very strange. In this same meeting that just happened, they questioned Trump about the issue of Iranian nuclear material, and he said that the agreement with Iran conceptually addresses Iranian nuclear material. What does it mean that it addresses it conceptually? I mean, no, it's not an agreement. Everything has to be super clear. We can't talk about conceptual things, right?
Yeah, no, yeah. He really went overboard with that thing about saying the nuclear issue will be addressed in a conceptual way. And that's it, right? I mean, obviously, it's just a way of saying no, right? That they're not going to do anything in practice to take that supposed enriched uranium. I say supposed because they don't even know where it is anymore. I mean, honestly, in fact, the IAEA said this same week that they should just be informed about what happened. Why? They say that to this day, nobody knows where the material is, not even how much there is or anything. I mean, no, I mean, the IAEA is completely in the dark about this, right?
And interestingly, right now, something is happening that, well, I think it makes it very clear to us, at least from the Revolutionary Guard Corps, that nothing has changed, right? Because Iran just attacked an oil tanker with drones in the Strait of Hormuz. Some media outlets are reporting that there are 3 oil tankers that tried to pass through the Strait of Hormuz, which we have to remember is closed. Since yesterday, it was completely closed by the Iranians because of the attacks carried out by the United States. And, well, Iran just announced this, right? That they have managed to prevent an oil tanker from passing through. Other sources say it's 3, but the United States has also had to respond by shooting down several drones because of these attacks on these, well, commercial vessels.
Yes, I mean, what the Revolutionary Guard says and what the Ayatollah says and all that, what they say is no negotiations. The nuclear issue will never be handed over to the United States. That's what the Iranians say. I mean, there's no negotiation. Negotiation doesn't exist. Everything Trump says is basically just going to be conceptual. It means absolutely nothing. That doesn't mean they're going to give it to them, nor that they're going to operate it. In fact, they don't even agree that China or Russia or anyone else should have it, because it started to be suggested. Well, Russia was the only one that offered, hey, we can have it and we can take care of that nuclear material. That's what Iran said. No. Nobody wants to give it to you or to China or to the United States. I mean, they've been very clear about that. In fact, I mean, they say nuclear material is something sacred to them, period. They put it on a sacred level. It's an issue they won't negotiate with the regime on. Not on that. If the regime falls, if it collapses, well, that's another matter. But with the regime as it is, there's no way. I mean, what kind of sign would there have to be for negotiations? Well, a sign that the regime says this has reached an existential level. I have to negotiate, but that seems far off. On the contrary, it actually looks like they would rather run it themselves or have total control of the Strait of Hormuz. That's not seen as a weakness, but exactly the opposite. It looks like something that has strengthened them, or at least that's what they believe, right? They have become stronger in the area, ultimately gaining more control than before the conflict. You just have to look at that. I mean, how were they before the conflict? How are they now? Yes, without Ali Khamenei, it's true, or he fell, but in the end, they replaced him in no time, right?
who in the end already had his days numbered, a girl,
very old person, sick, etc. But anyway, that's how things are. Czechia is winning 1-0 against South Korea, says Omar here in the Tapatia report as well. Also World Cup related. Tapatia is also really good. That's the big tidbit. So they're part of Mexico's group A, right? And well, it'll also be very interesting to see how that result turns out. Omar, Luis, how are you? Walter, Osorio, Joel. I'll take care of the other important matters in a moment. Thank you very much to the community members of the channel. Thank you very much for supporting us in that way. Being a member of the channel helps us to be here every day so that we can share and be here every day. Support for this channel or channels. Well, we're still kind of mid-sized because that's the reality. I mean, we haven't even reached 1 million subscribers yet, and that will only depend on you. That support helps us and allows us to be here every day, informing you in detail about what's happening. And I know that the effort you make is because you believe in this project, right? Thank you for believing in us, for believing in this project, for believing in everything we do. And just know that we will be here every day, bringing you all the information about what's happening in the world. Let's move on to other interesting topics about what's happening in the world. Hey, and speaking of this, just look at this image that Diego posted. And this is one of those strange things that happen at the World Cup. Look at the person who's jumping there. Yes, he's a Korean. That's right. Check it out. He's there in Mexico and they're tossing him up. Obviously, everyone is just playing around. In fact, at the end, everyone starts shouting at the same time. Korean, Korean. Listen to this. Here it goes. Have we learned? Oh, Korean, 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 awesome. I can't believe the atmosphere. Obviously, just like everywhere else, sometimes where there were protests, well, there was some confrontation, some incident. Obviously, there have been some too, but in general, there has been a lot of celebration. Clearly, I owe you a meal. I'll treat you to some tacos. Francisco Arce. That's for getting the result. Right. I think Francisco Arce was the only one who predicted the 2-0.
if I'm not mistaken. I was saying most people said 3-0, 3-1.
I said 3-1, others said 2-1, 1-0, 1-1, 2-2, 1-1, 1-2, 2-2. If I'm not mistaken, it was you, right, Francisco? You were the one talking about 2-0, right? We'll have to check the live chat, the one from the last broadcast, right? That's where the predictions were being discussed, right? Well, let's move on to other important matters happening in the world. Look, information keeps coming out about the 3-Eye Atlas, and they say there's still more information to come. They say that 3-Eye Atlas has a lot of information that hasn't been revealed yet, and that it will be enough to study for years. So surely, even though 3-Eye Atlas is already very far away, we'll keep discovering things even as it keeps moving outward. Out of the solar system, the interstellar object 3-Eye Atlas is generating controversy again, since a group of astronomers, including myself, the same Avila, well, who I think is the main driving force from a scientific point of view of theories about possible technologies or materials of extraterrestrial origin. He claims that the observations made and the information obtained from the James Webb Space Telescope have detected a surprising amount of methane. I mean, they knew about the methane. In fact, we talked about it here, right? But obviously, it's one thing to know that methane exists, and another thing to see the amount of methane present in the phenomenon that occurred when it approached the sun, when the famous sublimation happened, when it started to move forward, then the reactions it had, the changes in speed. All of this, along with the key data about the amount of methane that would have been released, confirms that it would be at least one of the most important possible biomarkers. for life. Its presence is usually, above all, in an object that is supposed to be so old. It says that regardless of what is known about it. Of the good kind, of the comets, not in the future, assuming it is a comet, and regardless of what is known about this, the amount of time it has and the material that keeps coming out of there, it would be very likely that there would be at least, assuming there wasn't something intelligent, that there would at least be life, that there would at least be organisms. I mean, it suggests or raises these questions where they say, hey, it could be related to biological processes that are extremely ancient, right? In which life could have evolved in some way. I mean, not as we understand it. We're talking about millions and millions. We're talking about the comet existing when planet Earth didn't even exist yet. We're talking about it being much older than 5,500 million years. Planet Earth is about that age. So the comet, this comet already existed. Just imagine, it was already moving. So how much has Earth experienced in all that time? Well, just imagine how much that comet has experienced over so many periods of time. The scientist asks several questions, among them whether this process is biological or simply chemical and geological. I mean, he says there's still a lot of information to analyze. The more controversial theories, let's say, planeta. These kinds of objects could have been what gave rise to life in the universe, or at least here on this planet. The famous panspermia theory that interstellar objects may have brought material already containing ancient organisms, right? And those organisms could have evolved even much faster here on Earth. Coincidentally, there's another interesting point about this object. It's that we now have much greater observation capabilities. Well, these objects aren't new. They've always been passing by. In fact, one recently fell in Argentina. A possible interstellar object fell into the Sea of Argentina. And by the way, they're trying to get sponsorships to go look for the object and find it. Well, that's more evidence that now, well, we already know and we already have it. We already know its origin, general direction, and speed. So now, look, when an object comes from these directions, when it has this speed, there's probably a 99.9997% chance it is. Something like that. I mean, because he put there the percentage chance that it's an interstellar object. I mean, by the way it behaves. No, so they say there will be future missions to try to intercept or get information from these interstellar objects and learn not from our solar system anymore, but from the depths of the universe without having to go there. We will be able to learn a little more about this little by little. Now, we still won't be able to draw any big conclusions because there's still a lot of information to process. And that's the part that maybe makes us impatient, or at least interests me, wanting to know a little more about that information that I feel was, well, censored. It was stopped. It didn't cause much of a stir. I think they were afraid that something else might suddenly be discovered. No, but now with this apparent openness that's happening, it seems like maybe they're losing that fear or those fears. Right? The conclusion, at least up to now, is that this discovery still leaves open questions. There isn't a definite conclusion that says, well, it's like this and that's it. No, there isn't. The comet simply gives a sign of possibilities, of entities, not of entities, but of, let's say there's a probability of something biological being there. But at what level? Well, now that's something nobody knows. Those are questions that remain open. Let's go. Let's move on to other important matters as well. Listen, Israel is now taking the Wadi Guadalupe Valley and advancing toward Navier. This is an offensive right in Lebanon and in the midst of tensions, right? That's why what Trump is proposing about a supposed agreement seems difficult. When the agreement was supposed to bring peace to this region, right now it seems complicated.
Right, exactly. And the IDF obviously isn't willing to stop, so much so that, well, we just heard their reactions that they're not part of this agreement. And they've said several times that the issue of Hezbollah and Israel is not included in the agreement. It's a separate issue for them, even though for Iran it's something that has to be included in the agreement with the United States. And well, the IDF announced today that they have established operational control in the northern sector of the Guadalupe Valley, Saluki, a corridor in southern Lebanon that Hezbollah uses. Will they launch drones, explosives, or projectiles at Israeli troops? There was actually an attack on Israel yesterday, and the operation was carried out by the 7th Armored Brigade and the Eagles Commando Unit, including the destruction of hundreds of military facilities, the killing of more than 50 fighters, and the seizure of missiles, anti-tank weapons, and launch platforms. This is what the Arabic language spokesperson for the IDF, named Avichai Adrai, reported today, as we have already mentioned. This person is the one who provides information for Lebanon and the Arab countries.
Well, that's the matter, right? Let's move on to other topics, shall we? Let's go to other important matters. South Korea and Czechia are now tied 1-1 on the scoreboard, right? That too. Well, there it is. It's interesting. It was very interesting to see the start of the match and see the flag of Haiti, right? I mean, that really draws a lot of attention because in the end, it's a country. I know it is, that it's a business. That's just how it is. Of course, obviously. Of course it's a business. But I also think those events, especially when participants are involved, have faced criticism for having too many matches. But you're talking about something that changes a lot of people's lives. I mean, for a kid, even an adult, seeing their team, which has never been to the World Cup and all that, and being at the World Cup is already something, right? It's already something different to think about and reflect on. And seeing how the situation has been in Haiti, how things have been in other regions of the world, suddenly these are things that at least give a bit of relief, right? For many people. Let's get straight to some interesting facts about what happened. Well, it's obviously been a historic day from the point of view of sports and soccer since the Estadio Azteca, for the first time in the world, a stadium is hosting for the third time and a record is broken. Mexico City Stadium, formerly known as the Azteca, is the first stadium on the planet to host 3 World Cup openers. It's, well, the biggest World Cup in history, by the way, with 48 teams. There will be 104 matches played. That's also something that has never happened before. There are 3 host countries. That hadn't happened before either. Although basically what they're saying is, look, we've seen analysts who say Mexico should have hosted the World Cup alone. I mean, it's the only country that truly cares about soccer out of those 3 countries. It's the only country that's really interested in soccer. I mean, the United States clearly isn't interested. Of course, the Hispanics who live there are, though, and a few others who are from other cultures, or whatever you want. It's the same. Overall, there's not much interest. There's no passion for soccer. And Canada is even worse. It's as if the World Cup doesn't even exist there. Basically, well, another thing is that there are going to be 3 opening ceremonies. The first is at the Azteca, followed by one in the United States and another in Canada. Well, some curious things are that they're playing against South Africa, which, if I remember correctly, Mexico opened the World Cup with, right? And no, they opened the World Cup. Yeah. And there was a tie, by the way, which usually in World Cups, well, you'd have to check the stats. But it's always said that in the first match, the host wins. I mean, it's kind of a given. And that time South Africa didn't win because of Mexico, who tied with them, basically.
I don't think it happened
No, but I don't remember about Qatar.
because honestly, I mean, I don't remember, but I don't remember either.
Also like Qatar. No, it's not.
Yes, that probably didn't happen in Qatar either. You're right. It also mentions other things seen in the images. The president wasn't there, correct? That also draws attention.
In fact, on the chair where she had said a girl was going to sit, it was like that.
The empty one. Yes, I mean, I know. I feel like she should have gone, even with all the booze she was going to get. She should have gone. Look, this is something you have to learn from Trump. I mean, because you can learn things from all politicians, including Trump, right? And look, Trump goes to Knicks games. They boo him really hard, really hard. They boo everything about him. Well, that's just how it is, right? I mean, it's a democracy and applause is allowed. Booing is allowed too. It's no big deal, man. So, why be afraid of booing and that kind of thing? Honestly, yeah. Like I said, they're going to criticize you no matter what. Whether you go or you don't go. I feel like it's better to participate, right? From my point of view, I think it was better to go. If they're going to express themselves, let them do it. Now, also, well, this Alejandro Fernandez was the one who sang the national anthem. There was this Boshele, and there was another one too. A Korean singer, I think. Yes.
Yes, the one from Kiko Dragon.
Yes, I forgot her name.
Mondragon.
Look, you'll see it there. You'll see it there because this one really follows the Korean stuff. But Los Angeles Azules and Belinda also participated. I mean, here, I think Lila Downs was also there somewhere. I didn't see her. It was a full house, obviously, right? No other team has played as many opening matches as the host. In this case, well, Mexico is not the one that got to have this one. This honor, so to speak, was also a short opening ceremony. They didn't handle the issue of the United States flag in a very politically correct way. It was obvious the United States flag would get booed, and it did, but they handled it well, didn't they? So for diplomatic reasons, when the flags come out, in the end they leave up the flags of the three host countries. Yes, Canada, the United States, and Mexico in the middle. Because Mexico is the host country, right? The three flags disappear. And that way you avoid the booing of the United States flag. Because when the Mexican flag comes out, obviously everyone applauded, right? And then they go one by one, and Canada goes first, then the United States. But right after that, Mexico comes out quickly, and then the whole place lights up. But in that tiny moment when the United States flag was alone, you could hear the booing start, and then, well, the Mexican flag comes out and everyone gets fired up, because that's who we're rooting for in the end. Well, that's how it's handled too. Diplomacy in soccer, in sports, in the Zócalo, and in different places like here in Fundidora, they held these fan fests or whatever they call them.
Yes, fan fest. What do they do there? Well, basically they set up a giant screen for people who can't or couldn't get tickets, and there you are experiencing the World Cup atmosphere, not the FIFA one, but with the crowd, right? Because a lot of people love that, don't they? The whole thing about being with a lot of people and watching the tournament on a big screen, sorry. And also in some cases, at least here in Monterrey, that's how they're doing it. At night there are concerts.
There's also a concert and they've expanded it. For example, you can even drink all the way along the Fundidora corridor.
Until 6 in the morning.
But I think it even goes up to the stadium. It's a really long corridor, about 9 kilometers, that they just inaugurated. And it's not really completely finished. But let's say it's complete, right? And there you'll be able to drink beer in plastic cups until 6 in the morning. So it's basically going to be a giant bar, and I'm sure they'll be doing the same thing in other states too, especially Guadalajara and Mexico City. That's what I think, and we'll have to check. But there were also protests, right? And we also need to talk about that. I mean, there were protests, and here we're talking about groups like the CNTE and the Mothers Searching for the Disappeared, and different groups that are asking for answers and who also have the right to protest, obviously, and they were there protesting. There were even some disturbances, some cars set on fire, so there were some interesting situations there as well. That's how it all went down.
That topic? Well, to begin with, we have to go back to the fact that the government did everything possible to prevent the protests from reaching the stadium. In fact, yesterday, the Mothers Searching for the Disappeared were stopped on the way so they wouldn't get into Mexico City so quickly. Well, to the stadium to Mexico City, and this has drawn attention. In fact, today it's being said that they're going to investigate who helped them get there. I mean, it's a topic where you say, hey, they have the right to protest, even if it bothers you because there's an international event going on. That's your problem, but ultimately they're within their right. In fact, several international journalists who passed by where the teachers were said, well, it's part of a democracy. They have the right to protest and are expressing it by setting up tents wherever they choose. And well, unfortunately, there was a moment of a lot of violence. Really, both sides became very aggressive. There were people injured. The march groups, teachers, families of the missing, students, well, at one point, they managed to remove barriers that were protecting the perimeter of the stadium and started fighting with the officers. They did something dangerous that shouldn't be done. Several police officers were on horseback when people began attacking the horses. Since horses are skittish and can deliver a strong kick, protesters could lose their lives. So it's an issue that, well, unfortunately got out of hand for both the police and the protesters, right? And well, the demonstrations ended in clashes with officers from the Citizen Security Secretariat. They left several people injured, 3 people detained, and well, those are some of the things that happened today. The dark side, you know, people don't talk much about this, but there are some very strong images on social media.
Yes, of course. I mean, we experienced that local and national side of protests, of really intense situations. In the case of Mexico, that hadn't happened before. Well, back in 1986 and 1970, which is when the World Cups were held. Mexico plays, if I'm not mistaken, against Russia or the USSR. Yes, the USSR. And that's where they end up. I think it was 0. But check the data from 86. See if you have it. But anyway, the point is that there was a supposed curse on Mexico that they couldn't win the opening match. This is their 3rd. Otherwise, they couldn't have won. So, well, the fact that they won it is obviously important too. Still, check the data from 86. Let's see how it went.
Part opening match.
Opening match. Let's see how we did. 2.
A 1-1 draw.
Draw, right? Against Italy. Against Italy, there had been 2 draws. One with the USSR at that time and another with Italy. And now, well, I don't know. A question.
It's wrong because it says yes.
Because it says between Italy and Bulgaria, but it must be Mexico. Yes.
You have Mexico's exact one, right? And, well, and then there's Quiñones, who was a...
It's just that he didn't participate.
That's true. That's true.
I didn't know. He says he didn't participate. Hey, back then, FIFA tradition dictated that the reigning champion played the first match. The reigning champion. So this is actually something new.
Yes.
Well, new.
And, well, it ended up being 1-1.
1-1 against Mexico.
So, well, it was like, let's say in Mexico at least. I didn't know about this.
But what was its first match?
Let's see.
Well, that would be interesting. Another thing that stood out was that 3 people were sent off, right?
Yeah.
Yes, 2 from South Africa, 1 sent off from Mexico. Well, obviously it's intense, but that's what you expect, right? That there's a certain intensity, and well, right? I mean, I think the referee, well, I don't know, from what I saw, at least it seemed to me that he did a good job.
Was against Belgium. Mexico's first match in 86, and they won 2-1.
2-1. Well, there you have it. So it's not even a curse. Now, Router brings up a fact about Mexico's curse. I don't know, it says Mexico starts the World Cup with a victory, while South Africa suffers a defeat, breaking Mexico's curse. Speaking of Mexico's supposed first games. Now, according to what's being talked about right now, Javier Aguirre was really angry.
Yes, he said it was a game that should have ended 4-0. I mean, that was his prediction. Yes, because there were many times when it didn't look like it.
Hey, but Mexico kept going up and attacking, but as usual, they just couldn't finish. I mean,
that's a problem, right? And, well, people were right to boo when those goals weren't being scored.
Of course. It was also expected that Mora, apparently the youngest World Cup player, would show up, right?
17-year-old.
17 years old. He didn't shine. No, he didn't shine, at least not today. But he got on the field, right? He got on the field and got involved. I think Quiñones, for me, from what I saw, did very, very well. I mean,
Quiñones took over the game, and also this kid. I don't know how old he is, but he looks really young. Brian is also very good. They took him out at one point. I think he had already played almost both halves. And when is the next game? I think it would be really interesting to know. It's next week, on Thursday the 18th against South Korea. Well, right now I think they're still in shock. If the score hasn't changed, it's going to be in Guadalajara, and it's going to be at 8, not at 7 in the evening. Mexico City time.
It's going to be against South Korea, right? It's going to be against South Korea. That's going to be very interesting, because what happens with South Africa is that they're very agile, very fast, but disorganized. I still don't know. No.
Korea 2-1.
2-1-1.
Oh, well, what was convenient for Mexico was for them to end up tied, because that way Mexico would be in first place and then the other two below.
Now, also with more pressure, because Korea needed to win now. So, well, the point is that they won 2.
They won 2-1.
2-1, 2-1. Okay, South Korea is much more organized.
True.
That's a topic that isn't necessarily negative. I mean, not necessarily negative, because for Mexico,
It's not negative.
no, not necessarily. It's just that sometimes the South Africans game, well, it does have kind of a chaotic vibe. I mean, sometimes they did things that, from my point of view, seemed really strange. Sometimes they would do something, but also, I don't know, it's like I was expecting something else. At least now they're a bit more comfortable because they're already winning. And at least, well, they don't have all the pressure. Imagine what it would have meant to start off and lose. It would have been terrible. They seemed organized. I'd like to read the comments, since everyone has their own perspective on this topic. Aside from this, I'd like to recommend to those who like basketball. I'm going to try to do it next Saturday at 6:30 in the evening. This is going to be the Knicks game. I think it's going to be a historic game. I mean, actually, it already is, because, well, I mean, it could be that New York wins. And even though he never talked much about sports, suddenly, and then there are certain events that are very symbolic. Yeah.
They're basically historic.
Yes, exactly. For a city, in this case like New York, for those of us who have followed Seinfeld, those of us who have watched a lot of New York series, the running joke was always that the Knicks don't win, that the Knicks don't make it to the finals and things like that. It was always like that. In fact, in the last game, you see Jerry Seinfeld celebrating like crazy, right? He was going crazy celebrating the whole game. He was getting really wild. Super, super interesting. The little records that are being set in that Knicks game, in the previous game, for example, in the biggest comeback in history, they were losing by a lot and had an impressive comeback of about 29 points, something like that. The commentators were saying that a record had been broken for the size of a comeback in a game. Well, very interesting things that those who enjoy basketball will probably love. And it's cool because suddenly, like, that kind of game might help us recover, at least in that sense. The love that many people have for basketball, or for any sport, really. In the end, it's going to be at least interesting. I'm at least going to try to watch it. If there isn't any important news, well, if not, then we'll go to the report. But anyway, as you saw, I would really like to hear your opinions, to know what you think. What did you like? Those of you who were able to watch the game, and how did you see everything outside the game as well? Right? I mean, in the end, all the host countries are going to face challenges and problems, right? And the problems also need to be acknowledged. And in the end, that's the point of protests, isn't it? To expose situations that are serious. What I can tell you is that here, at least in Monterrey, downtown was completely empty. I had to go downtown, and then I came back about half an hour before the game. Yeah, and you could already see very few people. And then the local media started posting photos from different parts of downtown Monterrey, and it was empty everywhere. Everyone was watching the game, basically.
Exactly. And even though, well, look, it was 1 in the afternoon, well, it started at 12:30, 1 o'clock, and here the sun was really strong. People still went outside to watch the team, right?
You could see after the game, the city was back to normal because we went out. I mean, we went to the supermarket, did a few things like that. Everything was normal. I mean, I thought maybe the city would be really empty after the game. But no, after the game, everything was operating normally, right? Even at the schools. I mean, there was less traffic, less traffic. But almost, I mean, less, but not empty. Like maybe on a quiet Sunday. No, I don't know if it was like that. I mean, yeah, it was calmer because there was no school for many, right? But a lot of schools were open since it wasn't mandatory. A lot of schools opened. I mean, my oldest son went to school as usual, and they didn't have screens at school. So it was just a regular school, right? Yeah. That caught my attention too. How have you been, Master Shifu? Greetings to MT, Leonardo, and Panterita. How have you been? Hospital like always. Normally an hour and a half, and today it took 27 minutes, so it was really calm there. I imagine Abukate, right? I mean, very few people. Really? This morning there was almost normal traffic. But by noon, when when we went out, you see, in the morning it was normal. By noon it was almost empty. And yeah, you could see the National Guard, police, things like that. But other than that, you hardly saw anyone. Yeah. What's up? But other than that, you hardly saw anyone. And buses, the buses from regular public transportation.
Well, Panterita says they need better production value, more fireworks. You know what, Panterita? I saw that they were showing off the drones a lot, but if the game is at noon, you can't see the drones, right? So what's the goal? What's the plan for the drones? Who knows? Maybe they'll use them in another game, because in this one you definitely couldn't even see them. But yeah, well, I think fireworks aren't used as much anymore.
All right.
But they use the powder, right?
But it might have been more interesting with 6 or 7 helicopters instead of just 2 for more intensity. Even so, well, people went out to celebrate, right? I mean, it was
to see it. But it was cool. For example, the cardboard hat they put up. From the videos I've seen by foreigners, which I really like. I think all Mexicans enjoy seeing their take. How do foreigners see us here in Mexico? They're so fascinated by things, by the atmosphere, by when they threw the hat. Many Twitch streamers, many influencers who streamed live, like right from their phones, obviously just filming themselves because you can't stream the match. And they were super excited about the atmosphere.
I mean, you saw the crowd there. What country were they from? Was it Ghana or where was it from?
I've seen people from Korea.
But they were celebrating. No,
Well, that's in Ghana.
Ghana.
All right, they were in Ghana.
In Ghana, people celebrated Mexico beating South Africa because they dislike South Africans.
In several African countries, they don't like South Africans. So, well, Panterita says that she thinks there was a lot missing. Yes. Diego Gil says Trump is like Chimo Trifa, and 1 minute he says one thing, the next he says another. No. Right now, people are clarifying something for me right now. And I think that's why Trump says what he says. I mean, what they've agreed on is to sign a paper that's an agreement about what we're going to talk about.
So, I mean, we're the famous...
Framework. Yes, the framework of the agreements lists the topics we'll discuss. It doesn't mean that I agree. And it doesn't even say there, this is what we agreed on. No, it just says we'll talk about the nuclear issue and this topic. That's all. They say it's not an agreement, and it isn't.
That's just a framework. It's just a framework. That's it. I mean, of what will be discussed. But, well, you know how much he loves it. He says the owners went yesterday for a welcome dinner that was held at Chapultepec Castle. And there was a show at the Azteca last night. Thanks to that, says Master Shifu. Well, I was watching it, but I ended up chatting and looking at memes instead. It was kind of lame. Honestly, I only watched the Champions League and the Euro Cup, says Master Shifu. It's just that he's kind of fancy.
It's just that Maestro Shifu is getting more attention. And did you see that the referee, the one they took out, I mean, the one they sent back, the one from Somalia, he was going to the United States and they sent him back. FIFA, let's say, rewards him and is going to assign him either a Euro Cup match or a Champions League match. I don't remember which one. Well, the referee they sent back.
They're going to let him be the one who referees the Euro Cup.
I think it's the Euro Cup. They gave him a Euro Cup match, so I assume that's what it is. Otherwise, I don't know.
Of course. And, well, not there. I mean, honestly, FIFA could be,
it could be nothing.
It can't be much. Greetings. Panterita says, Digna says, I think Trump is...
It's just that, look, I see that. What I think is, I mean, he's not showing any restraint. I mean, that thing he does, saying one day I'm going to wipe him off the face of the earth, because basically I've said it with different words, but it's the same topic. And the next day he said, no, repeating, we're just minutes away from starting the attacks, but they begged me. Hey, you've done this 3 or 4 times already. They don't believe you anymore. I don't think they believe you. Every time you look weaker, because it's ridiculous. You look weak, and that's what he's about. He wants to look strong, and he's doing the opposite. Shout out to Ricardo Sandoval. How are you?
Greetings, Ricardo. Good evening.
NKR says the opening ceremony fell far short. FIFA invests little and wants to earn a lot. Honestly, it was very mediocre. Yes, that's what they say, that FIFA is greedy and charges for everything. They want to keep everything and don't want to spend anything. And, well, the truth is, they don't spend anything. We're the ones who pay us, the countries. We have to pay with our taxes. All the things that are being given for free, for example, to the people from FIFA because they get things, hotels, etc. We're paying for all of that. We pay with our taxes. I mean, it's fine if it's going to be seen, if it's going to have an economic impact on the country. But when you see that, for example, in Guadalajara, they took away from certain businesses that were doing well, they put up a wall and blocked the entrances to many restaurants. That sounds like, well, that wealth has to stay here too. It can't be that they're only going to eat at the stadium because that's where the money will stay. With FIFA, I mean, yes.
No, that's an exaggeration. It says the world, Pepe. This one says community. Greetings from Hidalgo. Pepe, could declassification be tied to the 13th to World Health? Imagine. I mean, at least up until now, I haven't seen anything like a path that leads in that direction. But yes, there's been a strong push to reveal whatever needs to be revealed in the declassification. Several people. Well, it's not just that. Several scientists have been involved, saying, well, just release everything you have to release and let's start analyzing it in the most serious way possible. All that declassification that is so highly anticipated, which, by the way, this week in theory, there will be a hearing in Congress. We'll see if it happens and we'll be commenting on it here in the United States. Gabriel Salud says, excellent information. Big hug. Same to you. Greetings, Gabriel. All the way to Argentina. Gabriel, greetings. How have you been?
Leonel Escudero Pepe says, I heard that the budget per player in France is equivalent to $1.4 billion. Can you imagine?
Just imagine, those are some impressive amounts, says Tapatia. Greetings from Leonardo. Pepe says your governor made a video with Alex Around the World. Alex Around the World. Samuel appears with Alan in Porto Monterrey. Seen.
The influencer governor?
Yes. He's a governor very focused on being an influencer. He says, well, in fact, he's an influencer governor, right? I mean, that's always been the focus.
His wife, as an example.
He's really focused on that topic. I haven't seen it. But yeah, they've been around. Well, obviously, as a host, they've been appearing in a lot of things like horseback riding tours or this and that. I mean, they've been around like that.
This month, he's done working for good. What we do isn't work.
You have to. Oh, well, greetings. Also enjoy the world tenor and what the community usually does. Good night. Greetings from Hidalgo. Pepe, how about the declassification?
Yes.
Greetings to everyone.
Greetings to the world. How have you been? Very good. Hey, well, at first it's a prediction, but by the end, I think almost everyone agreed that it's either Portugal or France. The supercomputer said it was France. Spain. Right? Spain is also one of the favorites. And at least so far, they are going to reach that agreement between Iran and Trump. And all that. So maybe, at least for the World Cup, they'll be calm. Or maybe not. I don't know. For me, it's the same thing again. I mean, in the end, sometimes there's a lot of noise, a lot of information, right? I mean, what they put out, especially during conflicts, right? It gets really intense. So suddenly it can be confusing and you think, well, they just want to go all out and attack. They want to tear them apart. Donald Trump said that yesterday, right? And then where do we have to look to understand if things are getting serious or not? Again, we go back to the markets. That's why it's super interesting to watch them. I mean, it's really a reflection of a lot of what's happening. And right now we can see it with oil. Oil is going up. Notice how we started. It started at $91 when the live stream began, which was already much lower. Now it's about to drop below $90. Brent, right? Which had been at around what, 120? Something like that. Now it's at $90. It's not a cheap price at all, but it's not as excessive as it once was. And Texas crude is at $84, right? There it is. So what does that mean? What they're seeing, despite what Trump says, what Moctava says, what they're seeing in the real day-to-day business is that things are calming down. If it weren't like that, believe me, prices would be skyrocketing. Now,
What I was saying,
we'll see how it closes tomorrow, Friday.
yes, also. But what the analysts were saying is why? Because it's already been 4 months. 4 months. Why hasn't oil gone up more when it was expected to reach 200? Well, because the Gulf countries have a method similar to what ghost ships do to quietly ship oil out. I mean, really, they've found their own tricks, to get it out.
So that could be. So the United Arab Emirates had already been found out. and it caused a lot of anger among the Iranians because it was known that they had been extracting oil. Oil at night with ships on dark nights. They were moving oil through the Strait of Hormuz, and I mean, in the end, they are very close here. And we also have to remember that they have the United Arab Emirates. And here we can see the division on the maps. They have this little piece. Look, look, pay attention. This piece belongs to the United Arab Emirates. So I think that in the future, they'll work through Saudi Arabia to have pipelines that come directly here, even if you have to cross the whole country. So you don't have to depend on the Strait of Hormuz. The same goes for the United Arab Emirates. The problem will be for Qatar, Bahrain, and Kuwait, but they could also reach some agreements, right? With Saudi Arabia, with Iraq, to have ways to get the oil out to the Gulf, to the Red Sea, right? To this area, right? So, well, who knows, right? The point is that another theory that these financial experts have is that China would be withdrawing a lot of its reserves. In fact, in the last 3 months, China stopped buying oil from Russia. I mean, not 100%, but the purchase of oil from the Russians dropped a lot. Right now, the Russians are a bit desperate in that sense because China was their biggest buyer and now China isn't buying oil. And everyone is asking, why isn't China buying oil if production is strong and all that? Well, supposedly it's because they're using up. They have too many reserves right now. They bought a lot of cheap oil during all these disruptions and all those problems with Russia over the past 4 years. So they have too much cheap oil and they're going to start moving it, right? So that's also a factor. Well, those are a lot of things, right? We'll have to wait for things to settle down. Let's see if oil is really going to stay in the 90s, go up, go even higher, or go down. We'll keep an eye out. Hello, how have you been? Veronica de la Cruz? Very good. She says she expected a wave from the crowd at the soccer game's opening. You're right, there wasn't one.
Not sure why I can't see it for the people.
For the people? Yeah, right? No, but they always talk about it. They always mention it. They say, hey, look at the wave, look at this. I mean, what strikes me is that nobody said anything about it, right?
Leonardo Pepe says, and I have a kind of superstition, which is not to watch Argentina's matches until there's a World Cup winner, like what happened in the last one. If they win, I'm happy. If they lose, I don't waste time watching. Regards, Leonardo.
Great, Leonardo. Regards.
Regards. Here in Mexico, we're used to them not winning. That's how we see it, because the best part is the moment. Even though the day they lose, well, yes, it makes you mad, and you say, well, now, who are we going to root for? But that doesn't happen, says the dad. Koreans won. 2-1. They run very well, but they don't know what to do with the ball. Now, a team that can advance in the World Cup ended up completely out of breath. Notice that there was a whole, a controversy because the Korean TV stations were recording their team. You know how they only let them in? Depending on the country, they only let journalists from that country in. Japan did the same when training here. They blocked local media but allowed Japanese outlets to record. It was similar with the Koreans training in Guadalajara. One reporter slipped up and the microphone was on and he was criticizing the captain. And he was saying, just look at how he runs, like he's in the military, and he didn't even finish. So I was there watching, like we say, trashing the Korean captain. They had to apologize and the media got scolded. They scolded all the Korean media for doing those things, for criticizing their own team. Panterita says it's dull. Pantera didn't like the World Cup. It's just the first day, Panterita. Don't worry.
I know, he went for it. He did.
I really liked it a lot. In fact, my throat is even sore from shouting.
Yes, I enjoyed everything, honestly. No, yeah, I mean, I was expecting more, but also
I was expecting less.
I put myself in a mindset to enjoy it.
But I was expecting, because it was a good experience. And, well, they're good, they're doing well. And it says, Veronica de la Cruz sends greetings. I was expecting the opening of the soccer game to have, well, I mentioned the wave thing.
Omar says, no, guys, save water.
There it is, there it is. Thank you, Omar.
Greetings also to Rulos Rublos. This is a very dull match. He says, greetings, Rublos.
Greetings. That's true. I mean, the match could have been more exciting. Definitely. That was the part, let's say, where you think, you had a lot of good chances to have scored more goals. That would have been ideal, at least a 3-0. That would have been perfect. He says, I expect a lot. I expect a lot of goals against Czechia. I'm going to that match. And I want to cheer for several goals.
Oh, that's great. A Daiso.
That's cool. Now tell us about it.
Is it here or somewhere else? You don't know. Here in Mexico in Monterrey,
There's nothing in Monterrey.
there isn't a single one. That's true because Samuel got upset.
Yes, yes.
Mexico versus Chiquilla surely won't be here. Same thing.
It won't be at the Azteca.
I think so. The one against Korea is in Guadalajara. Yes.
Yes.
Azteca.
Where does it say?
No. I mean, it is. I mean, if they could, they would put everyone in the Azteca. They would do everything in the Azteca.
Yes, because their support is helpful. Right.
Yes, the people, the state, it's always been said that there's a real tradition there, right?
Yes. No, says Leonardo Pepe Astrid. According to what I heard, Vivo Viva Idea has doubled its electric car sales due to the conflict, says Leonardo.
Let's see. How?
That Vigo Viva has doubled its sales because of the conflict.
I don't doubt it. Of course, I mean, electric cars or the ones you plug in, what do they call it? These plug-in hybrids. Well, they're going to take off yeah, I think so. Yes, it could happen, says Beto. And I didn't know that. I'm going to check that info you told me, Leonardo. Interesting. He says, I insist that the World Cup without the Giri. Well, it's not the same. That's it.
Yes, I know the hooligan, this Beba Galvan. I mean, that duo of Jose Ramon with this other guy. What's his name? I forgot. Yes,
The Giri.
well, Bustamante and the other one too. Brozo, yes. So them, weren't there actually three of them? It was so good, and I loved that on the last day, this Bustamante would always show up dressed as a hooligan to wreck the studio. It was always like the best experience of the World Cup, and now it's gone. No, honestly, they've put in some people who try to be funny but just don't work. That one actually worked at the time. Yes, of course, but aside from that, not really. That's how I see it. Lately, they've been bringing influencers who honestly aren't very likable either. Panterito says, it's just that I'm a big soccer fan. That's the thing, Panterito.
Yes.
We're not huge fans. We only watch when there's a World Cup. Basically, yes. So that's why it doesn't excite us, because personally, I find soccer super boring. Yeah.
This one says, Jose Gonzalez, thank you very much for that like. Jose, my namesake, 234 likes. Thank you so much for your support. That's great.
He says the Chiquitibon
One from 86 is also going.
Sia says, my sister is working at the historic place, at the Gröling State Hotel where Germany is staying. That's great.
Greetings. So, well, she'll be there. She'll be seeing those players up close, right? Those giants, right? Greetings to Sol. He says, on another topic, what do you know about the chocolate shortage? What? Today, when I got coffee, they said there was no mocha due to a shortage. That's wild. I hadn't heard about it.
You know, the other day, last Friday, I had to go run some errands and I ordered a coffee because I was tired and falling asleep while walking. So to avoid that, I had a coffee. Yeah. And a girl in front of me ordered a mocha frappe and they said there's no mocha, only cappuccino, which also has chocolate, right? It's the same, yeah.
So there really is a problem because of that.
Oh, yeah. That's crazy. Francisco Arce says in 86 he was 40 years younger, says Francisco. Now he's talking to Paterito and he says, Aldo, how are you, Aldo? He says, good evening, man. Today is my birthday too. And I don't think it's a coincidence. They say that we Geminis like to know a little bit about everything. Greetings and have a lovely night. Greetings, Aldo. Congratulations. Hugs.
Hugs. Have a great time on your birthday and thank you for sharing some time here with us or for letting us keep you company for a little while on your birthday. Yes. Well,
I remember that La Chiquitibum was a total hit, literally. In fact, I got to see her in person and she was really little. She was about 4 years old when they came to do what's it called? A caravan, right? It's not a caravan. Since there were horses. In September, they brought the little girl and rode in a horseback parade for Independence Day. They always do the parade. And the little girl was there dancing and moving her boobs. I remember my mom saying, oh, the little girl, and boom, she was so excited with the lady. But anyway, that was all.
is she La Chiquitibum now?
No, who knows? Honestly, I think so. She was young in 86. She was a girl. Young, well, I don't know. Maybe in her 20s, right?
It says, look, here it says the little one little. And currently, well, she still looks good.
She still looks good. I don't know how old the gentleman is.
She's Chiquita Boomer, who was very famous in the 80s. And that's Chiquita Boomer nowadays. Seriously. Yeah, well, that's the good thing.
You know, she's here, Mario, not over there. How is she?
Radio Formula brings it because this is how Mexico's sweetheart from 86 looks now. Chiquita Boomer looks great. There she is in 86 and there she is now. Just imagine Well, she looks amazing. Just look at her.
But she doesn't have to. She says,
No, I don't know. She says, let me check it here. She says, today is the World Cup, she says. And that brings back memories.
her name is Mar Castro. Look, so many years and you don't even know her name.
You don't know her name. Yes, yes, yes. Well, look, here's another photo. It's her look. She looks great and has aged really well. Her name is Mar Castro.
Let me see how old she is. Because we want to know how old she is. That actress, look.
Yes, actress. Yes, yes. Look.
She is 65 years old. Hey, well, she is 65 years old, right? Well, very good, very good, very good. Ma'am, excellent. Greetings, says Vic. Greetings, says, did you see yesterday, Pepe? They were saying Mexico would win 2-0, and they won. We guessed it. We had put something on Polymarket.
Polymarket.
He said, says Victor Vic. That's it. Korea 2-1 over the Czechs. And if it was on Polymarket, we'd be millionaires.
Hey, 2-0. If you had listened, Vic. Who else said Vic? I think Francisco, if I'm not mistaken. So, well, now we know who we're going to invite for some tacos, right? Shout out to Vic. Shout out to Francisco. What's the prediction now with the Koreans, right? When is it? By the way, you said the 12th, right?
The 12th.
Yes. Greetings, it says here in Mete, it says, TV Azteca commentator used to say that when they shuffled the deck, they shuffled it at the level. How? What does that mean, Mete? I don't know. Greetings. Greetings also says Tapatia. It's true. We Geminis are very curious. Yes, right? They always say that. They always say that we have two personalities.
Hello, I'm not sure if it's true, but they are definitely curious, right?
No, I've heard that like they're two, right? Greetings, and that they're very creative too, says Leonardo. But you have to catch them in either a good or bad mood. Leonardo asks Pepe and Azteca, is there any explanation for why the World Cups now have 3 host countries? Why are there 3 host countries now? Well, supposedly to generate more money.
I guess it's also because of the USMCA, right? I mean, the union between these 3 countries in North America. And, well, I suppose that's part of it, right? And, well, you see 3 very different visions of soccer, too. Yes.
Yes, but it's said that the higher up you go, the colder things get.
Yes.
Alda says, sorry, Alda. And if they read it by my brand, she's got a big bet in favor of Mexico with 500,000. I don't remember if it's pesos or dollars.
And she got it right. Now she did. So, do you know if she was thinking about that? Like, I mean, did she guess the 2-0 or how did that go? Check out this meme they sent me today about the 3 countries. I'll put it here on the screen.
Wait a moment. Greetings to Omar. He says, go Geminis. Greetings, Omar. Greetings to Cyber Journalist. How are you? Papi says, greetings from the beautiful Ubita Beach in Costa Rica on the Pacific, just hanging out where my daughter is a surf instructor. That's cool. Honestly, I'd like to learn to surf someday.
Yeah, honestly, I really would.
Honestly, it's just so beautiful and so interesting, right?
Yeah, honestly, definitely. Even the other way around.
Even the other way around.
Yeah.
Let me have it. I'll put it here in. Alors, on va mettre dedans in here for a moment. There it is. Here it is. You can see it, right? Perfect.
Yes, yes, perfect.
It's there it is, right? Mexico hosting the World Cup, and then the Samos comes out. SpongeBob celebrating, right? United States hosting the World Cup. It's, what's his name? Squidward.
Squidward, the one who stays in all day.
Super angry. I don't know what. And the Canadians just sleeping there.
They tell me, I've heard about.
I mean, J.D. Vance, what he comes out to say, supposedly the nice guy, right? To invite everyone to come and see the World Cup. And they say, no, we do want you here. Come to the World Cup. But then you all have to leave the next day. I mean, like, wow.
We're just so eager to stay.
I mean, go leave your money and then get out of here. But quickly. I mean, you think, what kind of invitation is that? No, just no.
Thank you. This one here says, Tapatia, I really like learning, researching, and getting to know things, says Tapatia.
It's slow. Excellent, Tapatia.
He says, Dad, no, I don't think Mexico will make it to the round of 16. Don't jinx it, Dad. We're just starting. Don't spoil the party. La fiesta.
Very bad, Nova's dad. First, bad comment from Nova's dad.
We just started. He sends greetings to neighbor Mrs. Veronica de la Cruz from all of us and to Vico. Greetings to Vico and Mar as well.
You forgot the peace phrase today, Dad. Nova, didn't you?
My Mario Mar phrase. I mean, he said...
Cyber Journalist says, greetings from the coast at Ubita Beach, Costa Rica. So, well, greetings.
Dad, since you're from Peru, how ridiculous these elections are. They're super mega tied, like I think by 900 votes or by 600 votes.
It's already changed. Did it change even more already? You checked
Already changed. I checked before we went live and it was already like, yes, yes. Now this one wins.
50 to 49 now.
I mean, now it's 50-49. But that's good.
So, I mean, 9,000 votes. It was already like 9,000 votes, yes. But, well, I mean, it's still undecided. I mean, we still don't know what's going on. But yes, it's here. Here it is.
Look, yes, it's really crazy. Yes, the difference is.
Very little. How much is it?
So, no, it doesn't say here.
It doesn't say here it is.
1,300.
1,303 votes. Yes.
It's 0.
It's at 50 again. Count.
0.01%. Oh, wow. That's not.
Here it is.
Look. This is just like when Bart runs for president, remember? There it is. And there are only 2 votes. And Martin wins because Bart forgot to go vote and his friend forgot too. Everyone forgot to go vote, but that's how it goes. Yeah, which icon went to vote that day? That's messed up.
Yeah, why didn't I go?
Why didn't I go?
Disappointed Canadians say it's because they thought it was the Hockey World Cup. Come on.
I know.
What? Soccer? No, not that. We wanted for them, hockey is the real deal for them, or it's nothing. By the way, when is that game between Russia and the United States going to be?
I didn't say anything. They were the ones who said it.
No.
Not sure where they got that. But that's just a fantasy.
Greetings, the dad joke is missing too, right?
Yes.
The joke is missing the phrase, no, nothing. Or let's go. Let's go. Remember, we're on WhatsApp and Telegram, and we send live stream notifications. And well, we're also on Facebook, Instagram, and X.
Great. Hey, a big hug. Well, greetings to Raul Sachs, to Ofe Mendez, to Francisco Arce, who later get some tacos for him and Vic. Some, what do you think? Some, what do they call those spit roasted ones? What do they call them? Al pastor. Here we call them de trompo, but in Mexico City, they're de pastor, right?
No, this one's different. Pastor has pineapple, but here it doesn't always have pineapple.
Yeah, but I did put one on it.
It's the same meat.
Yeah, it's the same meat.
Well, I owe you the tacos. Let's see if when you go set up there.
What was the highest position Mexico reached in a World Cup?
Did you know? They've never made it past the 5th game.
They make it to the end of the match, says Leonardo. Don't make fun, Leonardo. It's because you're from Argentina, right?
Exactly. It's a joke. I get it now.
It's a joke. It's a joke. Greetings. Well then, take care. See you tomorrow. We'll keep talking here about everything that's happening internationally. Thank you very much. Subscribe if you haven't already. We're here talking. See you later.
We interrupt your regular programming. Thank you for tuning in to The Truth. This is PP Live. The truth is intense. Buddha! The unbelievable is real. Here we analyze it. Global focus. Don't miss out. Tune into the channel. PP Live controlling the signal. Pepe and Astrid telling it like it is. Raw journalism, here it's respected. Turn on alerts, don't lose track. Until next time. Yes, sir. We're taking attendance. Subscribe.